Hey, what's up, family? This is Doug Reed with the Let's Go Show. Once again, I'm excited. Uh, I'm gonna throw it out there, Aaron. I'm excited because I got a celebrity in the building. I mean, let's keep it, let's keep it honest, man. Because I'm always influenced by the work you've done, and we'll get into that. Um, and it's so inspired about the impact that you've made not only for Black men, but for our Black community and of course our culture. So, how you doing today?
I am amazing, feel good, intentional about uh, just being focused, about just being present. So I thank God for that.
Yeah, and we talked a little bit about that briefly. I mean, and I'm pretty sure that'll come out because you have the strategies and the coping mechanisms on how we should be approaching a lot of different things. But we're gonna jump right into it. So
Let's
tell,
go.
tell us about this younger Aaron.
Oh man, the younger Aaron, really, and people don't believe it that I'm a shy, quiet person. Uh, Especially when I was younger. Definitely just in the corner, to myself. Didn't have a lot of friends, but I would consider myself to be pretty friendly. Just I was just very unsure, and also had this discernment like who to trust. I always had this thing about like who is a good person, who to trust. I was always like very conscious about that. Um, and I had a big family, so I was also like, I'm not gonna be pressed to make friends when I have family. You know what I'm saying? I love my family. So, but pretty shy, but just stay to myself. And one thing is that I was going to have on the fresh sneakers. So I was always known for like how I dress. Uh, that's always been since I was young. So I think reflecting back, I think I overcompensated for the quietness by what? Let me show you uh how I gets down dress wise. So I'm not gonna say much. We're gonna see me when I walk in.
Let me ask you because now, okay, so now let's take it back because, I, now even for me, there's a certain look. You see, I'm all gray now, and I try to keep it short. Now, I know you from New York. You know,
Right.
um, Now you say the fresh sneakers. We're gonna joke a little bit now. Now, is it the shell tops? I mean, like what are we sporting right in
Oh
in
no.
these in these early ages? What's
But
rocking in New York and during that time period?
during my era, it was, definitely like felines. So you had felines. That was like elementary school, so you definitely had your felines or, classic Reeboks or something like that. And then definitely around high school, I was a big Air Max 95 person. So, Air Max 95, every color. So I had every color Air Max 95. And you always had a dope sweatsuit to wear with it. So that was kind of like my thing. But
Yeah,
my dad used to buy himself a pair and buy me a pair. So we would always have like Air Max when they came out. Yeah.
yeah. So what you just told me that I just told on myself by talking about the
Oh,
shell.
right. It's a
That's what you just said, though. Is that what you
right,
really just
right.
said? All
That's
right,
that's
but
yeah.
I'll take that though. I'll
Right.
take that. But tell us more about Aaron. And uh, as far as the younger days, and then of course how you led up to now.
Well, one thing I would say that was always been like progressive or always want to do things. So my mom definitely say that I didn't give any trouble. She come home, the house would be clean. I'm like, all right, we out. You know what I'm saying? So, I never like really sitting in the house. I was always on the go, always doing things. My dad was always um picking me up, like let's go to arcade. So I was always used to out doing things. Um I was the only child for a pretty long, very long time. I'm the only child for my mom and my dad. Um so I would say that I definitely didn't want for anything. So but I also worked really hard,
Mhm.
so in terms of like I started working, uh my first entrepreneur spirit, kind of kicked in. I'm a car guy, so I love cars. So I used to wash people's cars in the neighborhood. And my mom made flyers. And I used to wash cars in the yard, and you had a seat for you to sit, and I would provide you with lemonade and refreshments while you waited, and I would bust out the cars, and it'd be shining, it'd be looking good. I would be very, meticulous about how it looked. Inside armor all down, cup hold, everything. It was, made the car look, pretty better than the car wash.
Yeah. Now let me ask you, if I was, and I want you to think about your air, because I'm the same way. I love cars, and I'm not going to ask you what you're driving today, but because actually that's a privacy thing. Sometimes I think even for me, but if I could give you a old school car of your choice, what would it be?
For me, it would be a '94 Acura Legend. That's a classic for me. Like, not back. I like a '94 Acura Legend. That just beautiful, beautiful car.
Okay, so now we driving around in this 19. This now, what's happening is I don't shift gears because family structure is tight, entrepreneur, So now I got you, kind of visionary type thing. Now I got you in this 19, driving around as a young man. This 19, what color?
It was like a goldish,
Okay,
yeah,
the goldish.
yeah.
So now Aaron is trying to figure out. He's in the shiny car, 1994 Acura. Seat might be a little back, you know what I mean? Just a little bit. Nice stereo system. And now he has this vision. He's thinking about, he's got a touch of the entrepreneurship, high school days, pretty comfortable, kind of shy guy. But now he has to start thinking about life and what he's going to do. What are Aaron's thoughts? What does that look like?
Man, and there's nowhere to where I'm at now, but I knew I wanted to own a car dealership. I wanted to own a car dealership. That was my plan. I was going to be a businessman, and I want to own a car dealership. That was the goal.
Mm.
Maybe multiple, not even maybe. Want to own multiple, but definitely started out with one.
Okay, nice one.
Yeah.
So high school years, because I really want to tap into your college years because I think those are some significant years.
Yeah.
Because we start off. Well, I started off in college and I was like, yeah, I ain't doing this, so I joined the military.
Right.
But I think especially for Black men and even with us, things change in those college years as far as what we intended to go to school for, and then some things, how things happen, and you got into it and you stayed there. How did that work out for you?
I mean, so if we go back to high school, high school again, it was very, just chill, very quiet. I met, I was sitting at the lunch table, met this young lady,
Mm.
that was very progressive, and wrote me a note and was like, had her friend handed to me that she liked me and everything like that. And
Ah.
still chilling, still quiet. You know, fast forward, I proposed in our late 30s, late 20s.
And what's your wife's name?
Oh, Trudy Ann.
Yeah, don't mess that up, man.
Yeah.
I just want to put that out there.
No,
That
no,
right
of course I was going to go there, but
there.
yeah, but we met freshman year of high school.
Okay.
Um, Again, it was just like I didn't love, I'm like, I went to school. I'm like, I don't really like taking tests, but I knew that academia was success, right? So, we I'm like, well, college, I don't know about college, what I want to do. I didn't even take SATs or anything, but I was like, you know what? Let me start with a 2-year college because I'm not really sure about what I wanted to do. So I said, let me start with a 2-year college. So I went to Mass Community College, business administration. I want to own my own business. Do you need a degree for that? Nah. But I said, you know what? I think it'd be cool, at least to have some foundation, some background.
Yeah, yeah.
So my mom, very supportive. All right, cool. You want to do that? All right. So I went, graduated, you know, during that time while, need a job, Of course I had my dad gave me a car. He gave me a 1998 Kia.
Mm.
Um, and it took me from point A to point B. You know, the heat and the AC was acting real funny. So
Some,
there's
some, some rough days. Is that what you're trying to
yeah,
tell me?
yeah. So I,
Yeah.
sometimes the heat will come on, sometimes it wouldn't.
Right, right.
So now I'm in this car shivering, but it's like, um, I'm getting to point A to point B. So I have this Kia. There's no car payment. All right. So I was talking to my mom. I'm like, Mom, I gotta get me another car. Like I graduated graduated high school. I'm going to. It's like I need another car. My grandmother's really helpful. My grandma's like, you know what? I'll buy it for you. So I'm only grandson. So she's like, I'll buy it for you. So I get a brown Infinity i30.
Ooh.
This was my first taste of luxury. I'm like, this is nice.
Okay, okay.
But guess what? I still have the Kia.
Mm-hmm.
So the Kia, now here I am 19, 20, and I have two cars. So the Kia is to rip and run the streets and go to work. And then the Infinity is when I'm going out. So I'm like, I like this life,
Yeah,
you
yeah, yeah,
know?
yeah.
And
Especially with a beautiful woman by your side.
right, right. So, so she goes to Hampton and I stay here. And I need a job. So Enterprise Rent a Car came on campus, and it was like, this is like, like they said that, it's like running your own business. I'm like, yo, that's dope. I'm like, I want to be an entrepreneur. So there's like, there's a management trainee program, and then when you work your way up, you become the branch manager. It's like running your own business, but it's for enterprise. I'm like, and I love cars. That's dope. Um, I go in the interview. I didn't get the job for the management trainee program, which is working from a management trainee up to branch manager.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was the blessing. Uh, and I saw that later on. So there's like, oh, we have car preps available. So the car prep is the one that cleans the car and gets the car, ready to go, and you washing the cars. I did that when I was 9, 10. So I get the job, and now I'm at Enterprise washing the cars and going to college. So I would go to class, then drive to Enterprise, change my clothes, and just wash cars.
Mm.
And I did that, graduated from Nassau, my associates, and I said, you know what, Ma? I said, I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna get my bachelor's. But being very practical, I don't want to go to as we were talking about traffic. I don't want to go to Manhattan because of
Mm-hmm.
traffic. I don't like traffic. I don't want to take the train. I need some place where I could drive. So I look around. I see that Queens College has economics because nobody locally had business. I wanted to get like a bachelor's in business. I ain't seen anything like that. So they had economics. Why did I
Mm.
take that? I
That's a
started
tough
to
one.
I wasn't doing well. So as we were
Mm-hmm.
talking about, like, that's one to bring it to now. You talk about black men and finishing. I was at a crossroads. It's like I can't stay in this economics program because I'm not doing well at all.
Mm-hmm.
That or I'm out college altogether, and that wasn't an option. So again, with structure, I don't want to change schools. So let me just stay here. What y'all got? What y'all got around here that I could take to get out of here? Because I just need a degree. Like that's where I was.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, oh, we have sociology. I don't know what you can do with that, but I'm taking sociology courses, and I'm like, yo, this is kind of dope. So you're learning about human behavior, why people do the things they do. So I graduate with this degree in sociology. I have a bachelor's. What do I do with that? And my cousin asked me, she's like, what do you do with that? I was like, I don't know.
Okay.
But I have a bachelor's degree, and I'm still working at Enterprise. So now here now I'm washing cars with a bachelor's degree. But I love my job there. And they're like, at this point, they're like, Aaron, you're not going anywhere. I don't care what else you do, but you're gonna come here.
Let me ask you, what did you, I mean, I know you stated as far as, sociology and, things that attracted you to it. But even with that, even during that time, and of course, we know what we'll discuss what you do now. Did you feel even back then concerning our people that what you were researching or studying, was it representing us?
I don't know if it was I don't know if it made the connection, but
Mhm.
I'll tell you something that sticks with me to this day when I was taking a gender and education course. And I think that that connected somehow to what I'm doing today. Uh, it talked about how boys and girls are reared differently and possibly, not possibly, and why, you know, men are groomed differently than women. One, in terms of when a child's in trouble, you know, or a child, or just even rearing children, right? You're more inclined, and this is before like now with social media and video games, but you would tell a boy, man, get out the house, go outside and play.
Mhm.
And the studies show that you would tell a girl to go read a book. Why don't you go read a book? Right? They were showing historically the different in rearing of boys versus girls and how that significantly changes the course of education and the impact on learning. So now you have this young girl that's getting more knowledge, more education just from reading a book, because that takes you to a whole nother place, a whole nother level.
Right,
You're
right.
learning new things, you're learning new words, right? But now we're telling our boys to go outside and play. That's great now. They've grown, you know, uh sports wise, but in terms of where they get the words, where they get the knowledge, where they get to take their vocabulary to another level. So now we see why there's potentially more women in education that's finishing,
Wow.
school as opposed to boys. That stuck with me. With Could that be false narrative? Could it be propaganda? But it connected the dots for me in terms
Wow.
of, wow, just how we rear our children. How that what messaging does that send? Right? Right? Man, go outside, go play, and tell a girl go outside and read. Why don't you go read a book? So now I've used that in conversation in terms of what does that do to our young boys when they get older now, and they're significant, in relationships with a significant other, right?
Mhm.
In terms of you're having a conversation dialogue with your partner. She's talking, spitting facts, what facts or non, or it's not even facts, but she's speaking, and now you are at a loss for words. You don't have the narrative, you don't have the
Mhm.
words, and that was kind of what led me into specifically working with black men. When I started doing couple session, I'm like, men doesn't have the language. And if we do, it's
Mhm.
spewed with anger and frustration. So our point doesn't get across because the messaging is all lost in why are you yelling, right? So we can't focus on what's being said because quite possibly we don't have the language, right? Because boys don't want boys talking too much. And you ain't telling a boy to go read no book. You tell him why don't you go do something constructive? Go, cut something, make something, right?
Yeah, you know what? And one of the things, I mean, you said a lot of things, but of course, with couples and black boys. But one of the things, I gained a real close relationship with Dr. Alfie. Um, and I heard her say one time that our feelings are valid. And that really stuck because not only did she say that our feelings were valid, she even, she went further to say sometimes they may be inadequate, but your feelings are valid. And then especially, in marriage or in relationships, it's our truth, you know, that when we expressing, or it could be an argument or whatever, even though sometimes we'd be like, yo, you just out of your mind, but it's her truth or his truth. And that comes with the communication about listening. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And that because we can always talk, well, communication is vital, but we can always talk it out, but understand that my feelings are valid. And that played a lot of that was that was heavy. I mean, it played a lot of weight on it. And I started looking at things, even, me and my wife. Now we can actually talk more about any situation because now I understand her truth. Even though I have my own personal opinion, whether it's right, wrong, and indifferent, I look at it differently.
Right. And that takes skill. But also you have the ability to communicate, right?
Mm,
There's comfort in doing it. You don't feel slighted by doing it. You don't feel shame in doing it. And like I said, having the capacity, right?
mm.
So I'm looking at the brothers that don't have the capacity to do it, whether it be through being silenced, whether through shame, whether it be through it would never taught, right? Like you can speak, right? And then when you learn that you can speak, that your feelings have validity to it. Right. So I was just starting from the gate in terms of just like foundation, like
Yeah.
for those men that don't speak. Because
Wow.
I could have been one of those dudes, like
Mm-hmm.
just be quiet. So I think that's where my focus comes in because I know I was a quiet person. Um and just feeling confident in speaking, right? And sharing your feelings. Um
So how did you really take that? You had some interest. Still, cleaning cars or whatever. So how did you take everything to the next level as far as
so right.
education?
So after that, still at Enterprise, again, one of my neighbor's friends who I washed her car. I saw her in the mall at Macy's. I just graduated my sociology degree, and she was like, "Hey," I was walking with my mom, and I was like, "Hey, how you doing? Haven't seen you in a long time. Just graduated. I just graduated it was literally over the weekend. I was like, I just graduated like on Friday. This was the weekend. It's like, congratulations. I said, yeah. I went to Queens College, got my in sociology. She was like, you know what? Hand me your resume.
Hmm.
I was like, and I got her email. I didn't know what she did. Maybe she told me, but I don't remember what she did. Sent her my resume, and I got a call. Meanwhile, this time I'm working at Enterprise, but like I need more money now.
Yeah.
So now I started working at FedEx. So I was driving a truck I was packing the truck and I was making deliveries for FedEx. So now I'm driving a big truck at FedEx. And after FedEx, I would change my uniform into Enterprise. Then I would work at Enterprise with my bachelor's degree. Uh got a call like, hey, would you like to work with um adults with disabilities, intellectual disabilities? I was like, all right, I'll try it. So it's like a residential program. So you go to the house, it's like from 7 to 7, something like that.
Let me ask you real quick because I want to definitely hone in on that. Like, what year was this?
This was 2006.
Okay, because it's 2023 now,
Yes.
right? So I just wanted to hone in now. That
Yeah.
was in 2006. Go ahead.
2006. So I did that for a short period of time. I wasn't feeling it. I was like, nah, this ain't for me. One, you can't leave until somebody comes and relieve you. I'm like, I'm good. Uh so I did that for I didn't wasn't really sweating it, but I was like, nah, I don't really think this is for me. I had FedEx and I had Enterprise. So I'm good. Because I was actually going there with my FedEx uniform on. Like
Gotta love
so
it.
right. So I wasn't hurting for no job at that point. I get another call. I get a call. Hey, Aaron, would you be interested in working at a drug treatment program as a counselor? I was like, okay. Like, I
Mhm.
don't know nothing about drugs. I don't know nothing about talking to people. This was 2007. December 2007, I started working at a program called Addiction Research and Treatment Corporation. My neighbor's friend ended up being the vice president of that corporation in terms of one of the areas
Wow.
and referred me to uh, the program director. Her name is Teresa Engel, and she's a licensed clinical social worker. And I started working, and I went for an interview. She said she never forgot, and she was like, "What are your goals?" And then when I came in there, I was like, "Probably come take your job."
Mm.
She was like, "I like you,"
Absolutely. I came up the
and
same way. Yep.
that's what started my career. That's what changed the trajectory of my life when I started working at Addiction Research and Treatment Corporation. I'm 27 years old, and I had to learn about addiction,
Mm-hmm.
learn about withdrawal, learn about what crack cocaine does,
Mm-hmm.
learn about heroin and what it does to the body, and what withdrawal looks like, learn about relapse prevention, I ran anger management groups, and I had to come out of my shell.
Mm-hmm.
Here I am now. They're like, wow, he's young. He has a bachelor's. Let's give him the young kids. Like, so I was getting 18, so I was getting, and then they added on marijuana treatment. So then I was getting the kids that's in there, smoking marijuana. So I had, my caseload was 18 years old. We have people on methadone. This is methadone maintenance in their 70s and 80s. So now
Mm-hmm.
I'm 20 something, and now I'm counseling and doing substance abuse counseling with people in their 60s that have been doing heroin before I was even thought of.
Mm-hmm. And I
And
think, yeah, let me, because I'm thinking, like I told you, I retired out of the prison system. I retired in 2016. Got into the federal prison in 1992, which was the height of the crack law, the 1986 Anti-Drug Act. So even when I fast forward, I think about people being released out of prisons during that time.
Mhm.
Uh, even the height of crack is starting to come down, but then I think about just like you saying, those addictions and how they dealing with it. Even when I was in the service, when I was in Germany, I'm witnessing firsthand, because over
Right.
there, they people were dealing with heroin.
Right.
And I was even as a young kid then, I, I thought, matter of fact, I remember a guy going through it, and I thought he had a cold and he was just shivering. I'm like, oh, what's wrong with guy?
Going
You
through
know what I
withdrawal.
mean? Is going through withdrawal. So with all that experience, and even like I told you, I talk about the 8 dimensions of wellness. That comes from uh, the therapy around addiction. We talk about those that areas of wellness. And that's why I tell you, I just stay in my lane as far as wellness. But now you're seeing this as a young man with all these different things that you are getting experience to, and the coping mechanisms that you got to provide older people. You're dealing with a younger audience. A younger age group with 18-year-olds. You're dealing with the recovery from crack, from heroin. You're dealing around with the dependency of marijuana. Like, all this is actually thrown in. How much did you gain out of that experience working in that environment?
Man, I think that's the greatest foundation I could have gotten working in that setting, because you see the co-occurring disorders, right? So they had a mental health diagnosis and a substance abuse, right? So oftentimes they're treating the mental illness with substances, right? So I learned so much about, if they were hearing voices, maybe if I use these substances, it would help to kind of bring down those voices, and then you learn about substance induced psychosis, where you see a lot of young folks engaging in possibly marijuana use that has been laced with illicit substances that triggers a substance induced psychosis. So this was a great foundation in terms of learning about addiction, learning about mental health diagnoses, and treating clinically.
And I'm curious, what were those ratios back then as far as blacks and whites?
Well, I was in Bed-Stuy, um, so it was predominant. It was Hispanic and African American. With my program.
Mm-hmm. I was just curious.
Yeah, So, uh, now my director is 2 years in. I'm like, of course, me is like, yo, so what's up with the money around here? Like, this is nice. So I'm like, so how can I move up to assistant program director? I'm looking for elevation. Um, she was like, she was like, Muller. So she called me Muller. Muller, you got to go back to school. You know, get master's in social work or something. Now, me in school had a really interesting relationship,
Mhm.
so I wanted to get up out of there, and I didn't want any more school, so I put it off. Till one point, it's like, you know what? Let me just go back. And I was coming. I said, let me just go back. I'm like, for elevation, I didn't know where it was going to take me, but I'm like, I need to enhance my clinical skills too, and I'm looking to progress. So I ended up going to Adelphi School of Social Work, and I started in 2009.
Wow.
So now I'm working full time at the drug treatment program.
Mhm.
I'm going to school, and I'm still at Enterprise.
Oh, well, I got to keep a car, keep them clean.
I'm still at Enterprise. So, so here I am, associates, bachelor's, and now doing the master's program, and I'm still at Enterprise. So that's where it all started
Mhm.
academically. Yeah.
So, you know, now you got a great well, actually, I'm just thinking about a couple. I'm just thinking about the foundation, of course, as far as family. Think about the foundation as far as entrepreneurship um, from a young age. Even being consistent and disciplined to maintain that job at enterprise during that time. Think about the foundation as far as getting into that kind of work dealing with drug addiction. So now there I'm thinking about this mode of what's becoming. I'm thinking about this mode of a young black man that has ambition and has drive. You know, when did you get into entrepreneurship for yourself within this field around social work?
So that came a conversation my wife and I had, So after just fast forward, after I graduated, my wife and I, well, before I graduated, my now wife and I, we separated between 21 and we reconnected around 29. So I was doing the master's in social work. Um, and we would talk here and there. She was doing, and then the moments where we connect and then disconnect. So it was like off and on, a lot like
Yeah.
that. She was doing her PhD. She was doing her She was going to Hampton for psychology, and then she was doing her PhD program. So during that time, I'm doing my master's. She's doing her PhD. Like towards the end of, we both graduated the same month.
Mm-hmm.
Um, she got a PhD, I got my master's, and then fast forward 2016, it's like, you know what? Our dream was to have a practice together, you know, and we started in 2016. So that's where the entrepreneur kind of took off, where it's like, you know what, and we started Life Matters in 2016. My son was born, and it was like we're looking to create something of legacy and help. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're both
Mm-hmm.
passionate about doing this work. So it's like we didn't see anything like this in our area in New York. It's like, let's do it.
And then what were with everything that education, even for your wife, what you guys have accumulated, I'll say, as far as education and experience. Like I said, being in your community, not seeing the faces that uh, represent us, as far as the social work, even psychiatrists. Um, what was this? What was the deciding factor that you knew that you were going to be an influence with black men?
That I didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
That I didn't know. Um, when God has something for you, like,
Mm-hmm.
you don't realize that the steps are being ordered. Everything that I told you was leading up to where I am today. Every little moment, every disappointment, everything that I thought was for me that wasn't, was bringing me to where I am today. Because when Instagram first started, it was just about pictures, right? You just posted pictures and that was it. But I real I said, when I created the name, I said, I haven't changed my name since I got Instagram, by the way. It's
Mhm.
been the Black Therapist since I started it in 2016, maybe 15, maybe 16. And my intention was I wanted something that made me stand out.
Mhm.
I know that a black being a black therapist was rare. I was like, oh, the black therapist, So I was intentional about creating that name and starting to like write posts and things around black mental health. So I started besides pictures, but I started posting things around that. Then I got a call. Someone called my wife because it came up, with our business number. It's like, I would like for you, like, can I find Arron Muller? I would like him to come speak at our church. We're having a men's breakfast. I was like, speak? I don't want to speak. I was like, I was like, I was like, I was like, what do you think? She was like, yeah, you should do it. I was like, I don't talk. And that was my first speaking engagement at a men's breakfast, talking about men's mental health. And I posted it. And that was it.
Mhm.
That was it. That's when like started really, and I started posting more stuff, and people was like, "Oh wow!"
The
And my
moment,
brother, two of my brother-in-laws was there, so they recorded it.
the momentum is building.
Right. So when my focus came on black men, and that's what started Black Kings Need Therapy too. I think I mentioned it before. I'm like, I'm doing couples counseling, which I didn't like, and I'm like, yo, this brother. Look at it. I was like, yo, this brother don't even have the words to speak. Because now she's telling, because I'm like, oh, is anybody in therapy? She was like, well, I am, and I'm noticing that, the women partners are saying whether they are, they have been, or whatever. And the dude's just like, "No, I'm just here, and I'm like,
Whatever she say.
I'm right. And I'm like, and it could be biased, but I'm like, yo, you need a space for you. I'm like, black men is not going to therapy enough. Even if they didn't have, even if the woman partner wasn't going to therapy, she had her homegirls, which was
Mhm.
created this therapeutic space. And I'm like, nah. I said, black men need therapy, something of therapy too. I said something. And I spoke to my wife about it. And with her, guidance, and it's like black kings need therapy too.
Mhm.
I'm like, I'm like, black men need to go. And why I said black kings need therapy too, because white men are going,
Mhm.
white women are going, Asian women are going,
No,
Asian
that's
men are going, black women are going. But why are the black men not going? So that's what sparked Black Kings Need Therapy too.
you know what I think about that. Because of course, my work that I did with Black Men Heal, and it's like 2019 that it started, and uh, thank God for Taz and Zykia. They realized that there was like, you kind of energetic, you could be that face, and boom, it happened, and all of a sudden everything else happened, and I'm like, oh my God, like this is this is actually, it was kind of overwhelming, but I enjoyed it because it showed me how to be vulnerable, and I was setting that example for black men. I've been in spaces where I was vulnerable enough, shed tears, like that was that was an example, like, yo, this dude, I'm 6 foot, 6'3", like 225. They're like, yo, big old dude, he crying, like, they started to identify. And of course, Black Man Heal goes to a certain height. Even, you know, anybody that was dealing with mental health, actually now, I think about even now as I watch it, have excelled so much. But what I wanted to go back though, because I know with your family, there's a spiritual foundation. And I want to definitely ask you this question because I think it's very important. Why is it that we must have a ground spiritual foundation in this walk in regards to our healing?
Man, for me, because that's from, and I don't understand people have different walks of faith and things for me, but I know as for me in my house, we definitely serve the Lord and know that that is the anchor, because sometimes you're walking around just floating, counting, living on your own devices. And for me, I'm not sure how to function without something to ground me, something to lean on to, you know, something that is things are not in my power. There's things in my power that I control, but certain things is not. And and I not to lean on my not to lean on my own understanding. I don't want to lean. I don't want to have to comprehend everything. I'm leaving it to God. You know what I'm saying? And not to say that I'm not going to be proactive. I'm not going to do
Mm-hmm.
my part, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
that's a whole nother story where we leave everything to God and then just sit rocking back and forth and not doing nothing. That's a whole nother story. But I'm gonna do what I can, but definitely gonna be praying about it. Uh, and just in terms of another thing, like I deal with so many people and so many people's stuff. I think it's important that you know there's a cleansing that I do, that there's ensuring that I'm not taking on, because with this work, right, there's nothing to joke about. This is a serious business, you know, and I appreciate that you honor and accept your lane, um, in terms of mental health, because I love medicine, and I want to be a dentist.
Wow.
That was another thing I like, a barber and a dentist. Because I'm obsessed with teeth, right? But I don't go around calling myself, because I like dentistry, that I'm like a dentist. You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not
Mm-hmm.
gonna go and looking like, oh well, you got floss there, and then play around and do something to your teeth, right? I honor
Yeah.
the work that people do. You know what I'm saying? So with that, is that it's great, to support people and help them, but it's also important that you take care of yourself, because you can leave yourself naked and harmed and hurt if you are not grounded and have ways to ensure that you are well yourself. So,
Mm-hmm.
as we were talking before, why I'm so much more intentional now about that I'm well, because we that cliche, pour in a cup and make sure you're well. And I'm so more intentional about that.
Mm-hmm.
You feel me? Like, and it's just the small things, just about making sure that I'm breathing. You know what I'm saying? Making sure that I'm looking at the weather and making sure, like, if I have a grimace on my face, that I'm aware of it. Like, why am I not well? Why am I feeling this way? And not just
Exactly.
operating out of just form or fashion, or just being a robot, going to the next thing, doing the next thing. Like, okay, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. I do have busy seasons, but there are times where today's like a day where I don't do nothing, and just chill around. Uh, and then make sure I have those days. You know what I'm saying? Every day is just not it's not going to be a whole bunch of doing a whole bunch of stuff. It's like, nah, today's intention is to do nothing, and I don't have no guilt. I don't have no shame about it.
And let
I'm
me ask, because because I really want you to kind of put this out. Um, and this is why I personally have so much respect for uh, what therapists do in this line of work. And just like let's go to the work. Like it tells us about that burden, taking that burden and carrying it and putting it on God because it doesn't belong to us.
right.
Um, but what would be your advice right now to the therapists that that are actually at capacity, that are overwhelmed, that are having having issues? What would you tell them right now? Because they get into this work, they get in, you get into it, you're trying to help. I mean, you love the work, but now because of mental health, now, let's just keep it 100. Now it's like a buzzword. Like
Right.
you've been doing this for years. Now, and everybody needs it. Corporations need it. Everybody's really understanding when it comes to Black men, how it's affecting them, especially in corporate, whatever lane, government, and they want this help. But now these therapists are getting at capacity now.
Yeah. And that's where I'm at, because I'm realizing that I was really pushing myself to dangerous limits. And if a therapist is listening right now, I'm like, this is your wake up call. Like, take inventory, stop what you're doing right now, take inventory. Are you out over capacity? Are you taking on more clients you don't need to? Are you just booking yourself for a whole bunch of speaking engagements? Uh, really have to take a pause and say, one, does these things align with my vision? Does all these speaking engagements align with what I want to do? Taking on all these clients, how are you really truly affecting and supporting them if you are at your breaking point? And that's where I had to take a pause and say, I'm not accepting new clients right now. And haven't been accepting new clients for a long time. If a window opened up, then I would pull one in and then I close the window back. But I've been getting emails last few days, and I said, sorry, my capacity, and I would surely try to assist in referring you. But my focus right now is not so much in direct practice. As we were talking before, I said, my focus has shifted, being that I've been in this field, quite some time. And I think God's calling me for kind of more of a meso impact, and that's community work, through my nonprofit, through, whether it be speaking engagements, whether it be through, saying media conversation, things
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
I still love, like, my clients that I've had since I started in practice, and
Wow.
they're in the space of maintenance, and they like, I don't want to go. This is not about like not letting go, but they understand that therapy is an important part of their life, right? So this is maintenance. This is we having our weekly session or our bi-weekly session, and that's where I'm at. So that keeps my ears to the street in terms of my direct practice.
Let
I've
me
also
let me let me ask you though. I'm glad you said that, because explain, if you can, explain that initial phase.
Mhm.
I've decided to take therapy. Now you said something that's very important. Explain the maintenance phase.
So the maintenance phase is where, and everybody, there's different levels, right? There's some people who have short term, goals that they need to work on, and it's very directed, very targeted. Listen, I dealing with working on my PhD dissertation, right? So that's a very targeted area, right? Eventually you should be finished with it, right? So you can work with therapists through that. Initially clients, my clients that came in with a specific challenge, they've worked through that, but they've realized that therapy is an important part of their life. So I want to maintain, because I want to have my weekly or my bi-weekly sessions. Whether it be just talking about life stuff or just to have a space to just process. Because life's life. So stuff still come up. So maybe that initial presenting challenge may have been resolved, but other things have come up. So now they're addressing those things as they come about. So
That's definitely good
we have
information.
those. Right.
Yeah.
So we have those. But I would say that overall, so I do that, and then now I've taken a love for teaching. So now I'm in higher ed as a professor. And I feel like what great way to make an impact and shape and mold future social workers. So that's kind of been my focus, so higher ed, nonprofit work, and things of that nature. But I still, love direct practice, but I definitely set the boundary with that. First identifying what I love, but I had to go through different modes to see where I'm at,
And,
so it's definitely setting the boundary, like I can't do anymore, and being okay with that is my
and yeah,
is
and let me ask you, even another point that I wanted you to kind of stress, because there's a shortage of therapists, especially Black male therapists.
Right.
What would you say to a young college student that's getting into therapy or wanting to get into sociology, and the potential that it has, or what direction would you give them, or what advice would you give them?
Well, one, I'm glad that that person is considering it, Black men, considering it, because there's not many of us. And I think, and I didn't even touch on that. That was part of what I also wanted to make myself visible as a Black therapist. And showing that you could be a Black therapist, Black male therapist, and still be cool, still, wear shell tops if you want to, or or wear your Air Maxes if you want to, and be okay with that. I had to work through that initial, I have to wear a shirt and tie, and I got comfortable wearing fitteds and sneakers and showing up as my authentic self, and kind of show that there's other, medicine and law is cool, but we need Black male therapists. And like, come join us in this field, and that you can support your family or support yourself and make a career out of this, and there's opportunities. So that's another thing. And I wrote that in my kind of write up for the Taraji P. Henson. When I spoke about that part of what I want to do is create visibility to have more Black men in this field, because we know it's only 1% of us. And to accommodate everybody that wants Black male therapists, we need more, right? So, while we're talking about, Black men, Black men need to go to therapy, and I create all of this stuff, we need more, because I can't do the work alone, right? Bashe can't do the work alone. Nobody, what I'm saying? Jason Phillips can't do it alone.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, all of us that are out here can't do it alone. We need more. So we need to make it dope, make it visible. And like I said, going to, college, going to high schools and career fairs, and
talk
making
about it.
talking about it. That's what I wrote. And about creating our visibility, like amplifying our voice, amplifying our vision of so people could see us, and being, I should look at Dr. Jeff, when he started out, like, on TV, and showing Black, a Black psychologist, right?
Yeah.
So showing more of us in these spaces, of visibility, like, oh wow, I didn't know you could do that, or I didn't know that looks kind of cool. So
Yeah.
we need more. We need more.
Let me ask you this, because I think I want to make sure that anybody's listening understand what you said. I don't know, because I'm familiar with your accomplishment and what has just happened. So let's pull it back.
Okay.
Let's definitely pull it back and slow it down, because you were actually the recipient of something, and you want, tell us more about the Taji B. Henson, what that actually, even what that entailed, and then of course what that outcome was.
Right. So Taraji P. Henson, actress, talented actress, has been very vocal around just mental health issues. The Boris L. Henson Foundation that she started in honor of her dad. And she's been doing work around mental health programming, just elevating Black therapists' voices, and providing, resources, providing, a directory of therapists. And she started the Joy Awards, just highlighting, mental health innovators, clinicians, and the work that we're doing, right? So you get this, very handsome reward, but also just her showing appreciation for the work that we're doing. So that's the Joy Award. And, I wasn't gonna go into it, because I'm like, I don't win nothing. I don't win nothing. But something was just like, just do it. And
Let's do it.
I just started just writing about Black men going to therapy, and how important that is, around the need for community mental health centers. While again, while we're talking about we need therapy, where are the spaces? Like, in my community, there is no community mental health center. If we want to fast forward, talk about future, I want to build a community mental health center here in Jamaica, Queens, where I'm from.
Wow. Wow.
That's my end goal. And I didn't tell you everything that I manifested and said in those classes of Adelphi, what my Yankee fitted on,
Hmm.
has has come to pass. I sat in
Mm.
class, not paying attention, right? I believe in vision. So I think I daydream about stuff. So I was like, you know what? I said, there's not many people in this class that look like me.
Hmm.
I'm like, I'm the only black male in this class going to school for social work. I said, I'm about to change the game of mental health. That's what I said.
Mm. Mm.
And this is no lie. I said, I'm gonna be on TV and I'm gonna be on radio talking about mental health. Now, this is the shy kid. Keep in mind.
Yeah, I trust me. I caught that, and I'm the same way because I like speaking things into existence.
You have to. You have to.
Because trust me, God will provide.
Yeah.
We can, we start having a sermon on here, but and I'm gonna go back because even for me, I remember seeing that list that came out. Now, granted, let's do a backdrop on me. I always put a tag in my social media like I'm just a kid from Cincinnati. I'm not a college graduate, even though I retired, like I told you previously, from the military reserves and the Federal Bureau of Prisons. Got into this space. I was doing some work around prison reform. Got into this space and got ignited into this social media space of black men healed and being a face. But when I looked at that list that came out, I saw you, of course, kind of seeing you on social media and supporting you. There was another young lady that won the award, uh, Sankofa Jackie. I can't remember Jackie's last name. Sankofa Healing, and then there's another young lady, Tansy McNulty, that's out in California. Well, she's out in Vegas, and I'm looking because I know out of all the people that put in, there had to be hundreds, and then of course they narrowed this list down. But me personally, I'm looking at this list and saying, I'm familiar with three of these people. Two of them win the award. And I'm like, and that was for me was so moving because it proved to me that I was on the right path in what I'm doing, just being an advocate. But then it was proven to me also that the need is so strong for, like you said, for us to go to therapy, but yet we need more Black therapists. And of course, we need more Black male therapists.
Mm-hmm.
So that was so rewarding in actually seeing that. So, I'll just wanted to say, first of all, I'll go back to honor you here and say congratulations
Thank you.
for all the hard work that you've done over the years, not since 2000, whenever Instagram started making, reels and all that. Like
Right.
this was before that, and all the work that you actually done. And then even then, like you said, fast forward and stating what you want to see going forward, those spaces within our community. You just said, in Jamaica, Queens, like I'm talking about nationwide, like how many entrepreneurs that are in this work can gather within a network and start opening in different cities and be
Right.
funded by Taji B. Henson or Charlemagne the God, somebody that has some real influential dollars to make a difference in our community.
Right.
So really appreciate you actually sharing it. But tell us, give me one more. If, going into the future, let's say you got the center's up. My fact, personally, my gift to you was that 1994 Accra Legend. What is it, Accra Legend?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just gave it to you. Matter of fact, I put a pair of fresh sneaks in there, just to make sure everything was straight, and I put it fitted in there. You got to fit it. Is that Yankee fitted like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, a Yankee fitted. So, what do you see for you and your family?
Bro, just health and strength. When you have that, and that, listen, our lights could stay on. Once you have health and strength, you could do everything else. I don't want a whole bunch. Like I said, I just want that the mortgage is paid automatically, the lights is on, everybody's good. I'm not fussy. And then of course my nice car. That's it. That's
Yeah.
it.
What do you see for your son?
My son, oh man. I want him to, I see so much of myself, in terms of the shyness. And one thing, I see the shyness, but he's definitely more outspoken than I am. If given that he feels safe, like at home he's talking, but out in spaces he's definitely me,
Mm-hmm.
And I let him know. I said, you see daddy on TV? I said, I'm shy too. He's like, you tell me this all the time. He's 6. He's like, you tell me this all the. So I try to instill in him that, don't be like how I am and not speak, you know. Um, because people will sleep on you, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Underestimate you. Because I've definitely felt that I was slept on, underestimated. Of course, my family know, but definitely by peers,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And we value our peers' opinion so much at that age. Um, so I just want him to grow into that, and if he follow my footsteps, but just in terms of that personality, if it's the same, that's God's will. But I just want, him protection and just being confident in who he is and not following the crowd. Because that's one thing I never did. My dad never did.
Mm-hmm.
My dad's about his business, you know what I'm saying? And just he's an entrepreneur too. Um, so I'm kind of like my dad too, not really friend, a whole bunch of friends, anything like that.
Yeah.
It's about working.
Yeah. Oh wow.
So that's all I want for him. And my daughter, just she is she has the personality to take up for both of my sons.
Okay.
She's out, she's dancing, she's singing. She said she wants to be a superstar.
Okay.
She's 4. So she wants to be a superstar. She has no
Okay.
problem singing and dancing.
Okay.
And she had, like I said, she shines out there. My son shines too, uh, and differently, and that's okay.
Hmm. Well, brother, I really, really, really appreciate you um, actually coming on the show because it was a sacrifice based on how your day went. So I definitely appreciate you coming on. I appreciate your time. Appreciate you sharing the story. Like this is part of the Let's Go show. It's not just to kind of dig deeper into uh, like your elevation and what you've actually become and your history. So I appreciate you sharing that. One thing I say that everybody can tell a story, but everybody can't share a story. So I really appreciate you coming on to the show. I'll ask you one more thing. What your words of wisdom before we close out?
Wow, think of that. But one thing I just want to think, I think this is the most in depth that I've gone into my history. So this is exclusive. um in terms of like where it brought me to today. So, one, I appreciate you asking really thought-provoking questions and uh allow me to go back to all the work that I've done to get me where I am today. And that's possibly why I'm tired. Or
Mm-hmm.
it's like I'm in a different space now. Like I feel like I've done, and trust me, there's trailblazers that's before me that we don't see. And I know they silently watch and say, you know what? I passed the they passed the baton to me and you, and now I feel like the fight. I want to fight in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying I want to fight. I want to fight with legislation about you know mental health policy, uh, about like how therapists are treated by insurance companies in terms of payment and all the red tape. Like all of these things that make therapy more accessible is where I'm at now. Like I feel like we are at a space now, like we know everybody needs to go to therapy, right? We know that
Mm-hmm.
black men need to go. I'm like, okay, now that everybody's here,
Mm-hmm.
we need more people, we need more places, and we need that therapists are compensated fairly, and
Mm-hmm.
that they don't want to just take cash because of the crap that insurance companies give us.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the space where I'm at now.
Yeah. And even I know for a fact, and this is from me talking to therapists, even in reference to your licensure, you know,
Forget about
being,
that.
yeah, you know,
Forget
so,
about
and because I want you to hold on after this call, because I got to make this one point, but let me do this. This has been a Let's Go show with Doug Reed and Ann Muller. Really appreciate you coming on. And you know what I say? Let's go, baby. Peace.
that. All
I'm
right.
out.